Osiyo! My name's Jessica, and welcome to a short story sketch video where you watch a speed painting while I narrate a short story that I wrote inspired by the background that I'm painting. Except I didn't write a short story this time! So instead, we're going to be reading some of the subreddits from Am I the Asshole? And yeah, just read some stories. Let's get started. Okay, so here's one that I found called, Am I the Asshole for Not Caring That My Daughter is Going Through a Difficult Time with a Friend and Returning Her Birthday Gift After the Way She Treated Her Cousin? What happened? My daughter Brooke's birthday was on Friday, so we had a celebration at home. Everything was going well until it was time for singing. Brooke blew out the candles and her cousin Arya blew on the cake too. Arya? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I am writing a TV show, right? And I am actually calling it Aria. So yeah, that's kind of cool. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law said oops and apologized. Aria obviously didn't understand. It was just an accident. But then Brooke turned it into a scene. She snapped at Aria, raising her voice, and called Aria an effing brat. I immediately got firm and told Brooke to apologize. Brooke tried to argue that Aria ruined her birthday candles. I told Brooke that I don't care who you are or what day it is never okay to treat a 3-year-old that way as a 20-year-old adult. Brooke refused to apologize and stormed off. After everyone had left, I informed Brooke that because she refused to apologize for the way she acted towards her cousin, I was returning her purse, which was the main gift I had brought her. She also got a Stanley Cup, but I let her keep it since it's something practical for school. Brooke tried arguing that she's too old for me to be confiscating her things and returning the purse was going too far. But I just told Brooke that I bought the purse with my own money and was free to do what I pleased with it. And if she wanted to act like a child, then she's going to get treated like one. Why I'm writing. My wife Kimberly said that she's not going to rebuy the purse for Brooke, and she agreed Brooke was out of line for how she treated Aria during the birthday celebration. But Kim said that I should have had more understanding for Brooke because of what's going on with Jessie. Jessie has been Brooke's best friend since they were in 4th grade. The problem is that Jessie recently got engaged and her fiance's just not a good guy. Brooke and Jessie's family staged an intervention to talk to Jessie, but Jessie insisted on the marriage and has been talking to Brooke less and less. Of course, I understand that it's a heartbreaking situation, and I'm sorry that Brooke has to experience that with her friend, but what's happening with Jessie has nothing to do with how Brooke treated Aria. If Brooke had snapped at Aria but immediately apologized after, then I could see how returning her purse would be seen as unfair. But I think Kimberly is being too lenient with our daughter, and Brooke needs to understand that going through a difficult situation is not an excuse to behave poorly towards others. Am I the asshole? Edited to answer a common question, my sister-in-law was holding Aria and keeping an eye on her during the birthday celebration. My brother-in-law was explaining to Aria why she can't blow on the candles on someone else's birthday. We were in the middle of correcting Aria when Brooke snapped at her. Okay, yeah, I mean, I really don't think, yeah. I'm gonna go with not the asshole on this one. It's unfortunate that her birthday candles were blown out, but I mean, come on, you're 20 years old. Like, you're 20. This is a 3-year-old, right? I mean, kids gonna be kids. Yeah, not the asshole, but let's see what the rest of the comments said. Not the ass, a 20-year-old cursing out a 3-year-old is too far. Also the irony of this from your daughter. Brooke tried arguing that she's too old for me to be confiscating her things and returning the purse was going too far. She's too old to be behaving like a spoiled brat at 20 years old. She needs to be able to regulate her emotions when a toddler makes a mistake, and not apologizing is ridiculous. You can have empathy for her going through a terrible time with her friend, but she does not get to take it out on others, especially little ones, without a concept of their mistakes. Absolutely not okay. This wouldn't be acceptable as a social norm in college or at the workplace, so don't let it slide now. There's a reply to that comment that says, I assumed we were dealing with like an 8-year-old who ought to have known better than to blow on someone else's candles, and like a 12-year-old, older but still young enough to be upset by this and be out of control with emotions, hence the disproportionate anger. The fact that this is between a 3-year-old and a 20-year-old has my mind blown. Yeah, me too. Another comment said, maybe I grew up weird, but 20 seems a little old to care that much about blowing out birthday candles. At that age, if a cute baby cousin wanted to blow out my candles, I would have cheered her on and taken pictures. Another person brought up an interesting comment. It said, I wouldn't curse the kid out, but I also wouldn't eat my cake after a germy toddler spewed saliva droplets all over it, and would be pretty bummed and probably unreasonably resentful over it. A separate comment said, not the asshole. Brooke doesn't get a pass for being an asshole to a toddler just because she's going through a difficult time. 20 years is more than enough to figure out you don't take your personal problems out on others, especially a 3-year-old. Seriously, WTF. Yeah, it looks like everyone kind of agrees that Brooke is definitely the one in the wrong on this one, so we're gonna go ahead and go on to the next story. Am I the asshole for refusing to arrange my ex's funeral? Ooh, probably not, but let's go ahead and read. I, 28 female, recently found myself in an extremely difficult situation after the passing of my ex-partner, 33-year-old female. We were in a relationship for 4 years and lived together, and we broke up about 5 months ago due to her having severe depression, which was making me emotionally drained and was taking a toll on my own mental health. After the breakup, she went to a hospital and volunteered to admit herself in so that she could get the help that she needed. However, my ex recently passed away tragically. Unfortunately, she doesn't have any family or friends who are close enough to handle the responsibility of arranging this funeral, except a grandmother who is in an aged care facility, so the responsibility fell on me. I feel immense sadness over her death, but I don't want to arrange the funeral. For context, my ex battled depression for a long time. I was the primary caregiver. The emotional strain of supporting her through her hardest and darkest moments took a significant toll on me. I was the only one with a job, so now I have little to no funds to spare for this funeral anyway. This has left me reeling and struggling to come to terms with it. I don't know what to do with this, and I don't want to deny our mutual friends and community the opportunity to show love and find closure, but it feels like an enormous emotional and financial burden. I feel incredible guilt and shame for not stepping up to the plate, but I just don't have it in me to not completely fall apart from arranging this funeral ceremony. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to arrange my ex's funeral? Edit, to all the people who are saying I abandoned her when she was dealing with her depression, you guys don't know the whole story and all the facets, so why pass judgment? It was mutual, and she was as worried about me as I was about her, and we ended it for the sake of both of us so she could fully commit to her getting better without worrying about this relationship, and she could stay in the hospital as long as she needed until her symptoms got better, and I could finally look after my mental health, which was screaming for help at this time. I don't think any of you know what it's like to be someone's caregiver. Depression gets in the way of everyday life, causing tremendous pain, hurting not only those suffering from it, but also impacting everyone around them. It's not easy dealing with a partner or family member's depression. I neglected my own health for years doing 2 jobs, one of which had an extremely toxic environment, but I couldn't afford to miss work or get fired, and on top of that, doing all the housework, including cooking for us after my shift and cleaning, and then gradually doing all the groceries, laundry, taking her to every appointment since she didn't drive with no help, neither from my family, because they don't approve of my sexual orientation, or her family, since again, she didn't have any close family or friends who would lend a helping hand whenever we were suffering in silence. And I did all of that for 3 years. My ex was a wonderful person, which made all of this worth it, but you have to understand, I couldn't just snap out of my burnout and push through. There's a line which I crossed, and even to this day, I'm recovering from 3 years worth of loss, burnout, and trauma. Nah, you're not the asshole. No, I mean, this is a really tough situation. Depression is something that is so dark and deep, and you need support. But also, as a person who's giving support, you can't always help them the way that you want to or the way that they need it. That's tough. It's hard. It's hard because at what point do you draw a boundary for yourself and your own mental health? But then at the same time, like, but like if they really need you, you know? So I have to remember that the question here is, am I the asshole? It's not, what would Jessica do in this situation? Which Jessica would probably bend over backwards and sacrifice her own mental health until she found a deep depression herself and then could help no one for years afterwards. The end. So I feel like those questions are definitely different and they sometimes have a different answer. And I believe the answer here is no, you are not the asshole. I understand why you feel bad. I would feel bad too. But just know that you really can't be blamed for a situation like this. It's a hard situation and it's one that deserves tenderness and a lot of thought, but it's okay that it can't come from you. Let's go ahead and read what the comments have to say. I'm interested in seeing what people think about this. Not the asshole. I don't understand you here though. You say that there's nobody else, but then it denies people from saying goodbye. So there are people? This shouldn't be falling on you. You don't need to spend money you don't have for a funeral for someone who seemingly won't have attendance anyway. Ooh, that was harsh. It was so harsh. So the OP responded to that comment and said, yeah, I see how it's unclear. What I meant is that there may not be anyone directly responsible or available to arrange the funeral besides me. There are still people who cared about my ex, like her previous job colleagues, her grandma, our mutual friends, people from the church that we used to go to. You know, there are people who still care for her and will likely offer to help, but just not close enough that they could take the whole responsibility of this arrangement. It's just a terrible situation for everyone involved. Another person suggested to call the pastor of the church that they both went to, just explain everything and ask if maybe they could arrange the funeral. That's a pretty good idea. Another comment said, not the asshole. This sounds like a hard situation to be in after years of emotionally draining situations. If there are mutual friends and a community who would want to show love and find closure, then there are other people who could help with arranging a funeral/memorial. If there aren't finances for a big event, then there doesn't have to be a big event. You should do what you need to, and if it's to step back, step back. If it's to arrange a simple burial, do that. If you want to ask those mutual friends in the community to take this on or help with it, do that. There's no right or wrong answer here. Another comment says, no assholes here. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, everyone's saying not the asshole, indicating that someone else in this situation is, but I think this comment definitely had it pinned right. It's no assholes here. There really isn't anyone that's wrong in this situation. It's just a hard situation. Anyways, the comment says, no assholes here. In fact, there's no interpersonal conflict. No one's calling you an asshole and you're not calling anyone else an asshole. The cost of final arrangements is paid out of the estate of the deceased. That means the executioner... Wow, that got dark. Never mind. It says executor. Yikes. That means the executor of the estate is responsible for the decisions. However, if the body's been released from the authorities to a funeral home and anyone steps forward and signs a contract with the funeral home, then that person is responsible for the bill and can only hope to be reimbursed by the estate. Don't sign any contracts. And I think we're just going to leave that story there because everyone seems to agree. There really were no assholes here. It was just a hard situation. It's a hard situation to be in. OP, I totally understand why you feel bad. I would also feel guilty for some reason, even though none of it was my fault. I guess I would just feel like, I don't know, I'd just feel bad. I'd just feel bad. All right, so the next story. Would I be the asshole if I took my kids out of school a week early even though my wife disagrees? I, 43 male, have 2 kids, 15 female and 14 male, sophomore and freshman. This school year, they've been making some really good grades and even juggling sports and/or clubs with that as well. I acknowledge that high school is difficult between academics and social lives and athletics/hobbies. Over spring break, my wife and I were planning on going on a 5 to 7 day trip with our kids to Vegas because, well, we don't have anything else to do. I told my kids about it and they seemed pretty happy for a getaway and a break. On Saturday, my wife and I were looking at hotel bookings and I brought up the idea of leaving on Good Friday and coming back a week later on the 5th. I also added that they could probably stay home on Thursday just to relax as well. This is the part where my wife's face made the sound of a 1997 Windows PC shutting down. Oh no! She's very, you go to school unless you're sick. She's not a mental health day person. The idea of missing school Thursday and Friday, our potential bookings were about 6 a.m., was a huge no-no. She just began to ask me why they needed to skip that day, with my reasoning being mostly A, kids need a break, and B, these same kids have missed only one day so far, and also C, they're good kids, why not reward them? Even after a lot of talking, she still won't budge. I've been thinking that maybe I could have them take the one day off anyways, but I'm asking here to see if I would be wrong before I do anything that could be seen as dumb. Would I be the asshole? I'll provide extra information in the comments if needed. Yeah, you would be, I think. Although I do agree with your mentality more, I think there's no harm in letting them have an extra day off, especially whenever they haven't had like any absences from school prior to that, or I guess technically the post said that there was one absence prior to that. What's one day of school, right? So I totally understand, and I'm definitely more on your wavelength, but the idea of going behind your spouse's back in order to do that is just not good. Like, one, it's asking for an argument or fight, and two, it's just super disrespectful. Like, you guys have already talked about it, she doesn't agree, and I mean, as far as I could tell from your post, it didn't really sound like it was like a big blow up or anything. So by going behind her back and doing this and making a decision regardless, I think it's going to really show her that you don't genuinely care about her opinion or what she has to say. And from here on out, anytime you guys have a discussion now, it's going to bring up an issue of trust. Like, she's gonna, you guys are gonna talk about, you know, whatever the discussion is, and then she's gonna leave that conversation thinking, is he going to go behind my back again? I don't know. It's just probably, I mean, it's such a small thing, right? And sometimes you just have to choose your battles. And even though I do agree with what you were saying, I definitely do not agree with going behind your wife's back. And yeah, you would be the asshole, sorry. While it might not be the end of the world to have the kids miss a day or even two of school, I think it's very wrong of you to get the kids into the mindset of this being a reward. It's also wrong of you to do it against your wife's will. You are the asshole. Below that comment, there's a lot of discussion about how mental health days are just as important. You know, missing school is fine as long as it's not like on an important day, like i.e. a test. You know, and if you ask for assignments ahead of time, they can do things ahead of time and already be caught up by the time they come back. You know, like a lot of justification for OP's, you know, original thought. But a lot of people also think that although he has the right idea, it's still disrespectful towards his wife. Another comment says, you're the asshole. Don't undercut your wife's appropriate focus on your children's education. You guys are a team. You had an idea, you ran it past her, and she said no. You made your case, she's not on board. Taking your kids out of school on a whim to make their vacation one day longer is the sort of thing that requires both of your agreement. And you didn't get it. They're still getting spring break anyway, and they'll have a chance to unwind. There are other ways to reward them for being good kids. Here's a comment with a different take. They said, no assholes here. Missing a day or two on either end of a break shouldn't be a big deal, but check with the kids. Once I scheduled a trip causing my son to miss 2 days in high school, and he missed a presentation and had to make it up, and he would have preferred not to. Another comment down here says, not the asshole. It's not a habit. 2 days missed in the grand scheme of things really is nothing at all. All of the you're the assholes are insane. Okay, well, like, I mean, I agree, 2 days missed is not a thing, but I believe, and let me double check, yeah, the question at the beginning of this post was, would I be the asshole if I took my kids out of school even though my wife disagrees? And the answer is yes, because you've already discussed it, agreed on something, and you would be doing the exact opposite. You wouldn't be an asshole for taking them out of school just because, you know, they we're gonna go on vacation. Like, I totally, once again, I totally agree with that. But you would be the asshole because you went against your partner's wishes despite already having that discussion. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this speed paint. I had a hard time figuring out if I wanted to do the spirit turtle or not. And I actually had ended up posting this on my Instagram and asking what other people thought, like if maybe I should just add more animals. And everyone agreed that more animals would be really, really cool. But just the singular turtle was kind of like, meh. And I didn't really have time to continue painting more of the animals. I had other ideas for background paintings, so I started working on those instead. So I think this one's probably just going to stay as it is, with that little turtle layer hidden away. But if I get a chance to do more, or if I feel inspired to paint more of those little animals, then that would be kind of cool, and maybe I'll post it on my Instagram later. But yeah. Wado for watching. Thank you so, so much, and please enjoy your next video. Bye!